Hello, hello, creatures with opposable thumbs. Once again, I am TheFish, and I'm here to bring you guys another awesome StarCraft 2 matchup. This is going to be Game 2 between Complexity's CoLrsvp and iSTop. Now, I haven't seen Top play before, but he did show some pretty good decision-making in that last game, going for early third base against a Forge Fast Expands. And that's really the kind of play that you want to do, and going for roaches I do agree with, but really what his undoing was in that last game was simply that he wasn't able to get any good engagements. He wasn't able to focus down any Colossi, and when you're going against groups of Stalkers and Colossi, you need to be able to take these Colossi out. Otherwise their damage output is just going to be way too good. It's going to do way too much against your roaches, and it's just not going to work out in your favor. So I wonder if Top will try to switch it up this time. Both players now starting to scout, and of course this map is going to be Tal'Darim Altar. Now, Tal'Darim Altar is a pretty big map, and it does lend itself pretty nicely to the macro game, so I expect that we'll possibly be seeing another one of those. Again, favoring the macro game, we see that these two players are spawning very far away from each other, with CoLrsvp in the bottom left and Top in the top right. So Top deciding again to open up with a spawning pool first before going with his hatchery, and I assume he will be going for some kind of a two-base play here, not doing some kind of crazy rush attack. Now, but this is kind of a matter of choice for Zerg players. You can either choose to get your spawning pool first or your hatchery first. The advantage of going hatchery first, of course, is that you can get this kind of good timing where you get two queens that pop out right at once. That's what Nest T likes to do. And of course it lets you get more larvae right away, but the advantage of going on one base is before you expand, you're actually going to be able to get more drones out on the field. Now, if you go for the early two bases, you're not really going to be able to get enough drones to fully saturate both of your bases. So a lot of times it makes sense to stay on one base and get that early spawning pool. It's a little bit safer. It allows you to have a couple Zerglings out in the beginning of the game. So if you have any kind of an early pressure, you can really just you can hold it off quite easily. Now, CoLrsvp deciding to cancel that pylon there and seed this hatchery's location to Top, and it looks like some of the damage had already been done. He was floating about 500 minerals there, and that's not really the situation you want to be in. With the Zerglings coming out, though, this probe is forced to retreat. So rather than let that pylon finish, he's going to regain some of those minerals that he spent there. So I think it's a pretty smart play by CoLrsvp, especially since he's doing this fast expansion where you do need a lot of minerals at the beginning, and it can be tough to get enough. You're basically forced to choose, you know, do I want to get a photon cannon here or a gateway first? And with you spending those extra 100 minerals, it can be a little bit detrimental to your build. Now you see CoLrsvp transferring about 6 probes. There's 5 probes over here just in time for the Nexus to be finishing, and that's the kind of finesse that these pro players really have. So if you want to be like them, you can work on doing stuff like that. This probe is going to be trying to retreat back to base. I don't think he'll make it though. Run, little probe, run! And no, he goes down. So Top, his second base is already created, and he's a little oversaturated here, so I'd like to see him transfer some some drones rather. But we do see that he's taking his third very early again, and I do like this against a fast expand. You do have plenty of time to get your three bases up, you know, assuming that your Protoss opponent is in fact going for it, the fast expand. You do have guys who do some crazy stuff like canceling their Nexus and going for some kind of weird 4-gate. But typically if you see that Forge go down, if you know that your opponent's got a Forge that he put down first, you're pretty safe against some kind of early aggression. So now one Zealot's starting to poke in here, but he's going to get surrounded by these Zerglings. So now this Zealot isn't meant to really do any damage. He's just trying to get a scout off. He's trying to get a read on what his opponent is doing. Now, I don't think that RSVP saw this third base, but it's a pretty good bet that there is going to be a third base going down. This would be the typical place for that third base, but of course these rocks are preventing that from going down. So we see a little bit better saturation here, and this probe is going to find this base, so RSVP will in fact know that there is a third base coming down. He doesn't have to worry about some kind of a two-base crazy attack, and it looks like Top is going to be going for roaches again, and he's throwing down his Evo chamber at the same time as his roach one, and that's a pretty standard play there. He's got one Zergling just chilling outside of the base, and I'd recommend doing this. This just kind of allows you to see if your opponent is leaving his base with any units, then you can really do something about it. Now, RSVP trying to get some proxy pylons up here. He may be thinking about warping in a few zealots, and that's one thing that the Protoss race can really do. And yeah, there goes a couple zealots coming down. You can hit your Zerg opponent with a few zealots right at about this timing, around 8 minutes into the game, because you know that he's just getting his third base saturated, and you can start working on it. Now, he's only got a few zealots out to deal with this, and he's smartly going after the pylon first. More zealots being warped in here by RSVP, and he might be seeing an opportunity to really do some damage to his Zerg player. This hatchery is taking a lot of damage. A roach is now coming out to try and deal with this, but one roach not going to be able to defeat these zealots before this hatchery goes down. He's not even microing the roaches, so it looks like all of this is going to go down for our Zerg player, and it's not a good situation for the Zerg. You want to be able to defend this, and it can be very tough. Now we do see a Void Ray coming in here for RSVP, and this can be very deadly, this combination of units where you start to hit your opponent with zealots right away, and then come in with some Void Rays immediately following, especially against Zerg, where they really don't have any anti-air units except for those Queens. And Queens off creep, not very useful in any situation. 5 kills on this Void Ray already, and he's going to be moving in to try and attack some of these drones, most likely, get some harassment done. Now Top is going to be coming in for a sort of small counterattack, but I don't know what 4 roaches is really going to be able to do here. We do see 1 cannon and 1 sentry, so will he be able to defend? He's actually pulling back with this Void Ray, so actually a smart play by Top there. He's able to kind of force a retreat on this Void Ray, and while he did lose his third base, this is going to allow him just to buy himself some time here, try and catch up on economy. These roaches will go down to these Void Rays, to the Zealot. We do see Top now working on his third base, trying to remake his third base. And we see 2 Stargates out now for RSVP, and we're going to have a lot of Void Rays on the field here. Smartly, Top is responding to this with a Hydralisk Den. But there's a joke that goes around the internet saying that how do you win against a Zerg player, and it's trick him into building Hydralisks. Now the reason he just canceled this is because he knows these Void Rays are coming for it, and rather than just wait for it to get destroyed, he's actually just going to cancel. So RSVP managing to deny Top from getting any sort of third base up. He does have a full saturation on both of his bases. We do see Glial Reconstitution, Groove Spine upgrades coming out, so we are going to be seeing some Roach Hydra play from Top. And in fact, RSVP has kind of forced him into doing this. We see third base coming down now for RSVP, and he's got a significant Harvester lead, a pretty nice income lead. So RSVP able to get himself into a really good position this game. Now it looks like these Roaches moved to intercept these Void Rays, but Roaches can attack air, so not much going to be done here. We don't see any static defense at this base. The natural expansion on Tal'Darim Multer is exposed in many ways. It's going towards the middle of the map, so air units have an easy time attacking it from different angles. You can get siege tanks sieged up in the corners here and get rid of them. Colossi can simply waltz in here, and it looks like Top's actually going to be going for an attack here. And what is RSVP going to have to deal with this? Well, he does have several Void Rays. 7 it looks like at this point. But the good thing about Roaches is they have a lot of hit points, and if you just start knocking on your opponent's door with them, oftentimes air units won't be able to take out a giant ball of roaches until they've done a significant amount of damage. Now we see 5 Hydras moving in here, and they're getting a little out of position. So I'd like to see these roaches sticking a little closer. This probe is going to see everything, and here we go. Top moving in to do some damage here. This is going to go down immediately, and it's just starting to work on these buildings. If the cybernetic score goes down, it's going to be not so good for him. The forge goes down, but no cancellation on that upgrade, and Top doing a ton of damage here. This looks like this expansion is just going to go down outright. And what is RSVP going to do to defend this? He's only got about 6 Void Rays and a bunch of Zealots at this point. But he is working on that Psystorm upgrade, and there's an Immortal on the way, so will Psystorm finish in time? It looks like he's just seconds away. 5 seconds. Can he hold off this army for about 5 seconds until these Storms can go down? And will these Hydras be able to take out these Void Rays? Storm's going down now on the Hydras. Ton of damage being done on the Zerg army, and it looks like these Zealots are going to move into intercept, and we've got a great battle going on here, folks, but it looks like our Protoss player is going to emerge victorious from this little skirmish. All of his Void Rays are still at full health, and while he did sacrifice this base, that was a pretty good engagement. Now, Hydras moving in, and these Zealots are going to be able to do a lot of damage to them. And great micro here by RSVP, keeping all his Void Rays alive, and man, that was about, 1,600 minerals, 800 gas worth of Hydras right there, and they just got destroyed by a few Zealots and Void Rays. This can be a hazard when you're playing as Zerg. You got to protect those Hydras, and they're very slow off the creep, and if you manage to lose all of your Hydras, it can be really bad news for you. Now, RSVP trying to reestablish his second base here, and oh man, nice surround going down, picking up a few High Templars. It looks like these Zealots are going to be killed, but the Zerglings aren't going to be able to do too much damage to the main base here. But this again is forcing RSVP to retreat back home with his Void Rays. A couple more Zealots warping in here to deal with this. But RSVP does look to be in a pretty good situation going into the rest of this game. Now, Top is on 3 bases. He's got all of them pretty well saturated. It would be nice for him to start thinking about maybe taking a 4th base. RSVP does have eyes on every possible expansion that he can go for. So both players taking some damage, taking some losses there, and we'll have to see what's going to happen here. Now this +1 attack is just now starting here for our Zerg player, and that's pretty late. It's pretty delayed. These upgrades are not going to be really favoring our Zerg. We do see +1 air and +1/+1 for our ground on our Protoss player. But RSVP is having to spend a lot in time and effort into rebuilding this base, and I'm not sure if it's a good idea or not to be harassing with these Void Rays. You don't typically want to have your units just idle, just kind of floating around, but at the same time, if he moves out with these Void Rays, it can be very risky. Now, he does see this base trying to go up, so it looks like he will be going to try and deny this 4th base here. So it'll be interesting to see if Top's Hydras can get there in time. We don't see the creep really getting there. Would like to see a little bit better creep spread out of him. That would really help his mobility with these units, and he's actually going to be going for an attack here. So his units are going to be way out of position to deal with this, and this base is going to go down. It's going to get the cancel off. Now our Top deciding to go in for an attack here. He's going to catch this Void Ray out of position, and now RSVP realizing this, and again he's moving his Void Rays back to try and deal with this. RSVP now does have his 4th base. It doesn't look like Top notices that. Going to be going for the 3rd. Moving in some roaches here. There's going to be Archons and Zealots and Immortals to greet him. Templar and Void Rays are going to slowly be making their way in. Now, one Templar getting killed here. Zealots surrounding the roaches here. That's not something that you see every day, but this is a lot of Hydras and roaches. And great storms going down, forcing these units to move back, and these slow Hydras just can't get out of their way here. And it looks like RSVP is going to be able to clean up the Zerg army here. And these Hydras are just so slow, and they cannot avoid the storm, and it's just very interesting. Did you see that? That Archon was kind of moving with his buddies while he was transforming, and then moved back there. That was a little weird. Anyway, we do see CoLrsvp. Meanwhile, he's scouting with this Phoenix the whole time. He knows what's going on. He knows that top doesn't have a ton of units really to deal with this, but at the same time, that is now a lot of roaches. He's able to remax fairly quickly, still on 3 bases, although his main has become mined out at this point. And not being able to get a 4th base up, that's going to hurt him, because we now have CoLrsvp on. CoLrsvp is on 4 bases, now looking to take a 5th, and our Zerg player is still only on 3, only 2 of which are actually mining, so this game looks like it's going in CoLrsvp's favor, but one thing about going for all these different tech pads is that it makes you only able to get a few units of each, and CoLrsvp still hasn't been able to get maxed out, even though it's 22 minutes in, and so big engagement right here, guys. If Top can hold this off, he might be able to get himself a 4th base to get himself back into this game, but I don't know if it's going to happen with these grid storms going down. Hydra's doing a ton of damage on these Archons, picking both of them off, and these Void Races and Immortals are now going to turn around and start to flee. They've backed themselves into a corner here, and it's going to be a death match. Immortals versus Roaches and Hydras, and they're going to pick up a few Roaches and Hydras before being taken out themselves. Hydras is doing a ton of damage, and those upgrades really shining, whereas before his units seemed to be impotent, unable to really do any damage against those Protoss ones. The +1/+2 is really helping in this situation. Now we do see some Dark Templar moving in here for CoLrsvp, and meanwhile our Zerg player is going to be coming in for a counter-attack after that sort of failed push by CoLrsvp, but he does have several Zealots and several High Templar and several Void Rays still alive. These Void Rays just have not really gone down. Top coming in for this 3rd base, and I wonder if he even knows about this 4th one. He must, yes, now he does, because he saw those probes moving in, and wisely going to be attacking this 4th base. A storm going down here. Dark Templar are coming in, and we're going to have a pretty big fight here. These Hydras are doing a ton of damage, but they have pretty low health. You can see how quickly they're picking off those Zealots there, but there is no detection for Top, and these Dark Templar are just going to be able to do just DPS units down. And now finally an Overseer coming in, so that's going to signal the turn around and attack, and we're having a back and forth battle here. Storm's going down, doing a lot of damage. Wow. And Psionic Storm, very effective against the Hydras in this game, and I do like this unit composition from CoLrsvp. He seems to have an answer to anything that Top can throw at him, and really the problem is with this Roach Hydra build, and there's the GG from Top. And like I was going to say, the problem with this Roach Hydra build is against these big storm moves, against tactics like siege tanks and Void Rays, it becomes very difficult to micro your Roaches and Hydras. Hydras can't seem to get out of the way of these storms, and it becomes very difficult to really effectively damage your opponent. Now Top was GGing there because he's realizing how many bases CoLrsvp has, and that it's only a matter of time before he loses at this point. So good set of games there. Some really awesome Protoss versus Zerg by CoLrsvp. That was some pretty impressive play, really good storms, and really enjoyed watching that one. So I hope you guys enjoyed as well, and thanks for watching.